It's Natty. Our sense of time. Wouldn't it be great if we could slow down the passage of time as we get older? See, I remember as a kid, I'd go cycling over Hampstead Heath with my friends, and that single day could feel like a whole week. But here I am, all grown up, and it's like days, but sometimes whole weeks, can sometimes slip through my fingers like sand. I think there must be a way, because there are certain situations when time does seem to almost grind to a halt. And I think well, that was just 20 seconds. Did that feel longer? I'd like to introduce you to David Eagleman. He's a neuroscientist. He came up with a really great experiment, and it was to determine how much time slows down when we're really, really scared. Here's a question for you. If you've got a bunch of volunteers, how do you scare them? It's down to me. I'd probably just creep up behind them with an empty crisp packet and go bang. I think that would do it. It wasn't enough for David Eagleman. Oh no, David Eagleman thought bigger than that. 150 foot bigger, in fact. He used to take his volunteers and he'd take them up to the top of the gantry and he'd push them off backwards. That wasn't bad enough. Did it work? It worked incredibly well, in fact. Too well. Because invariably, whenever he took a volunteer up and pushed them off, they were so petrified they couldn't pay attention to the experiment. So guess what? Lucky them, they had to go up again and down again and up and down until they paid attention to the experiment. Now, not so good for them, but good result for us, because something very interesting comes out of this experiment. You see, all the volunteers, they all said, you know, when we were falling, time really did seem to just slow down. And yet all the experimental data that they were collecting at the time showed that from a physical point of view, their ability to perceive time hadn't changed a bit. Not one bit. So what's going on? What was it they were experiencing? Well, it turns out that our perception of time is really a bit of an illusion. And there's a couple of factors involved in this illusion, but the big one, and it's one that's useful for us tonight because it's one that we can do something about, is how much new information we're taking in at any one time. See, what happens with new information is the brain's got to make sense of it. It's got to decide what it's going to do with it. Is this similar to something that I've done before? Do I need to put it here? Do I need to put it here? So with new information, there's a lot of processing going on in the brain. And the interesting thing is, the longer it takes to process, then the bigger that sense of time slowing down. Next one. Think of when you were a child. When you're a child, you do many things for the very first time, don't you? So you learn to walk, you learn to talk, you learn to pick up things. You think, a cat, what happens if I pick it up by the tail? Oh, that's what happens, I get scratched to death. Oh, I go and visit a doctor's. Oh, a syringe, will that be fun? No, it won't be fun. Lots of new experiences. So therefore, there's lots of processing going on when we're children, and therefore time seems to expand. It's the same thing if you've ever walked down an alleyway late at night and you've heard footsteps behind you. Well, what's happening? All your senses just reach out because they're trying to pick up every single little detail. Because just one of those little details could mean the difference between life and death. So when we're terrified, There's a huge amount of processing going on, and therefore time just seems to really slow down in those moments. However, look at us as adults now. See, most of us, well, I like to think all of us, we've got all those skills that we need to survive in the world as an adult. And in fact, most of our days, for a lot of us, it's a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it? You know, same journey into work, same stop for a cup of coffee, same newspaper or blogs that you read. It's the same people you sit with, same tasks. Maybe even you come home in the evening, you do the same thing every evening. So what's happening is there's not much new information, and therefore very little processing. And so time just seems to flash past. So what can we do with this knowledge? How can we use this to slow down the passage of time? Well, it all really boils down to, can we find ways to just notice more about the world around us? There's a couple of ways we can do that. Introduce a bit of novelty. See, all these little routines that we get into, we can break some of those. Have you ever noticed, like when you go on holiday, the first couple of days and the last couple of days feel very different? Like the first couple of days, don't they feel really long? Right? Don't they feel really rich? It's because there's so much new information we're taking on, new people, new cuisine. But the last couple of days, what happens? We're just familiar with it. We don't pay attention anymore, and it just goes like that. If any of you travel on the sea to sea, you probably notice that if you've had to get off and maybe take the bus instead to Pitsea, isn't it normally, bus service, replacement bus service, did that time feel quite different for you? Did that day stand out in a week? Because you did something different. Did that journey on the bus feel really long? But it's not a long journey, really. It's just because you're noticing an awful lot more. Skills. You learn new skills, you're taking lots more new information, so therefore time expands. But there's a third way, and this is the one that's really quite close to my heart, really. And it's a great one because we don't have to add anything more to our lives, no more activities. And this one is mindfulness. So I count myself as very fortunate because I get to teach mindfulness, sometimes in this very room, in fact, with some of you, in fact. And the thing about mindfulness is it allows us to step out of that autopilot that we're on all the time. In fact, we get to experience this very moment, this real aliveness in this very second, as if for the first time, as if we're like children. We get to feel all the sensations in our body, you know, from the gross right down to the brush of air against the back of your hand, all the sounds, all the sights, all for the first time. And so, lots of information coming in, time seems to slow down. Additionally as well, you wouldn't think that standing here doing nothing, you notice so much, and so it's a very rich experience. And also because we're not concerned with the past or the future, just the here and now, it's actually very peaceful. It feels very complete. So to round up, I'd like to say that time does speed up as we get older. But we have a choice. We can learn to slow down time by simply finding ways to notice more about the world around us. Just notice more. Thank you.